Okay, hi everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how this works so that I don't block the slides mostly. Okay. Okay, first question, raise show of hands. Who has heard of Zalora before? Okay, great. I've been in Zalora for a number of years, and every time I talk to people, like more and more hands start to get raised. So it's a good sign. Okay, so next question. Who has shopped on Zalora before? Quite a lot of people. How do you guys find it? Okay. Okay. Okay, so today I'm going to share with you guys about how we are thinking about measuring customer experience. So the topic that we're talking about today is one of the questions I hear a lot is, John, when you're looking at customer experience, when you want to get an understanding of the end-to-end experience of the customer, what's going right, what's going wrong, how do you measure it? And some of the questions I ask, do we use CSAT? Do we use NPS? Do we use CES? There's so many measures. What do we really need to measure? How do we get a proper understanding of the customer needs? So before I start, I need to share about, I know most of you know it, but hey, Zalora is one of the leading online fashion destinations. We are in 8 countries in the region. Most of the major brands we hold it, not just whole major brands, but we also design our own labels. We pioneered a lot of the shopping experience, for example, cash on delivery. It sounds fairly common now, but when we started 5 years ago, it was pretty unheard of. And we also do a lot of lifestyle as well as our own magazine to be able to showcase a lot about the fashionability and why online. So today we'll talk about 3 things. Number 1 is how to measure it. Number 2 is after you measure it, how do you get the right insights? And then number 3, most importantly, how do you make lasting organizational change? So for me, the concept of customer experience is pretty simple. It's listening to customers, finding out what's wrong or what's right, fixing pain points, listening to customers again to really understand whether or not we've actually fixed it, and if we have, let's move on. If we have not, let's try again. And just continuous cycle of listening, fixing, fixing. This is the basic principle that I'm going to be falling back to for the rest of the presentation. This is generally the roadmap of how I'll be going through the next 20 minutes or so. So let's start first on how do we listen to customers? How do we collect feedback? So first of all, I'm going to share with you a bit about the different methodologies out there. So we've got the NPS, which is very good lifetime measurement. It gives you an understanding of it gives you one number that measures a collective experience across your entire shopping cycle for Zalora case. You have your CSAT, which is your customer satisfaction matrix. So you're asking on a particular touch point, how satisfied are you? Or how you rate your experience. So this gives you an idea of what is going on a specific touch point. And another commonly used one is customer effort score. So whether or not, so it's a different angle whether how much effort does it take to do it. One of the limitations of this is very limited to serve this type of touch point. One of the things that we don't really look at enough is understanding that there are many kinds of feedback. So while there's a lot of focus on your NPS, your CSAT, your CES, doing surveys, collecting data, that's only one part of the story. I call that solicited. That's when you ask customers for feedback. 2 very important parts of the feedback loop is actually understanding your behavioral, which is how customers are interacting, as well as your KPIs, which is what you're projecting or anticipating what the experience is going to be. So when you compare all 3, your solicited feedback gives you very specific information about the issue you want to know about. It answers the why question. Behavioral one of the limitations of solicited is you're limited to the response rate. So if you have a small sample size to send it to and a low response rate, the numbers you can get may or may not be statistically significant. You contrast this with behavioral, where you get to get a lot of data. This could be, for example, whether or not you click on an ad. Do you see an ad? Do you visit our website? Do you open our emails? If you open our emails, do you click on it or do you unsubscribe? Under what conditions do you buy? Under what conditions do you not buy? Are you shopping new arrivals? Discount. When you buy it, do you return it? If you return it, why are you returning it? There's a lot of information in behaviors, something we don't focus enough on. And lastly, KPI, something that we get an idea of, usually used in to control people's behavior. But how does it then feed back into understanding the really projecting how the customer is going to be feeling? So I'm going to walk you through a sample, like an abbreviated customer journey. And in this, I'm going to put, the box is the touch point or the action they are doing. On top would be the type of data I'll be looking for, and it's color-coded based on whether it's a solicited, behavioral, or KPI. So I'm going to walk you through and just going to flash this up. Okay, so let's say Abigail. She's got a date coming up next weekend, and she's looking for a new dress. So she goes to the website, browses for the items, and she finds the dress that she likes. So she clicks checkout, we get the order, we start processing the order. Somebody goes into a warehouse with literally millions of items, finds out the one dress that she's looking for. Brings it down, packs it, we ship it off to her using say, SingPost. SingPost gets an order, pass it to her within our delivery time frame. She gets the package, opens it up, tries it on, and everything is perfectly fine. That's one thing. She bought a size too big. Being a first-time customer shopping Zalora for the first time, she's not 100% sure of the return policy or the return procedure. So she gives my customer service agent a call. The agent answers promptly and is able to resolve her issue very quickly. Now, armed with the knowledge of how to do a return, she goes over to SingPost, to the POP station, drops it off, SingPost sends it back to us, and we process the new order, the exchange, and she gets it. So just a very abbreviated customer journey, 10 steps. Let's say every one of these touch points, we have a 95% chance of nothing going wrong. You can find something you like. There's no warehouse issue. SingPost doesn't leave that pink slip on your door, tells you to go to the post office. Like nothing goes, like 95% chance that for each of this, nothing goes wrong. Four out of 10 customers have at least one negative experience. And this is only taking an abbreviated customer journey of 10 touch points. Think about your organizations. How many touch points does the customer have? How likely is it to be a seamless experience? How many of your customers do you think are truly satisfied? Then when you want to start building this holistic understanding of the customer experience and customer satisfaction, you start building feedback loops on each of the touch points. And finally, your feedback loop looks something like this. Well, move from this to something like this. So I'm going to walk you through this so that it doesn't look so daunting. So the first one we look at is all of the touch points. We want to understand each of the touch points, what's going right, what's going wrong. If you're on the website, can you find the items you like? If you're receiving an email, does the email content appeal to you? Is it relevant? If you're getting a delivery, did it come on time? Was there any issues with the packaging? Was the items correct? Was there any defects? So each of these touch points, we want to get feedback. At the end of all of the touch points, okay, so in these touch points, it's probably where you want to look at something like your behavioral data, or potentially you can use something like CSAT or CF because you want to measure a specific action. At the end of it, then that's where we do our NPS, or life cycle measure. So we define the end of our shopping experience because of our 30-day return policy, after 30 days after your return, or a week after you've done a return on exchange, because it takes time for the exchange to get to us. Sorry, the package to get to us. We also look at early warnings. So an example is if we are having a sale, we expect a huge volume of orders. We know on the warehouse side on an hourly basis what exactly is happening, how much volume, are people overloaded, is there a backlog building up or not? And if there is a backlog building up, we can straight away take corrective action. Maybe because we've got like a couple of days of buffer, if you need to, maybe we bring in additional people the next day, or we start going all hands on deck. So this is to try to prevent the next touch point that the customer receives. For example, between placing an order, we have an early warning system that receiving an order might have a problem. If we know that, we can straight away make changes. So these are the three main routes that we look at. Number one, each of the touch points. Number two, your life cycle measure. And then finally, early warning systems. It also means that we are drowning in data. We are getting information from a lot of different sources, and we need to really make sense of this. So it brings me to, sorry, wrong button. So it brings me to my next point is how do we analyze the data? When you're looking at data analysis, the one question that I always hammer in on my staff is making sure that we are asking the right questions. The analysis you do is only as strong as the question you ask. My boss is sitting in the back, and this was a conversation we had quite a while ago, quite a long time ago. He might have forgotten about it. So he asked, how can we ensure that our call centers have a 90-20 SLA? Which in layman terms is 90% of our calls answered within 20 seconds. So after a bit of discussion, we came to the conclusion that actually, let's drill a bit deeper. What is the real business objective here? The real business objective is to maximize our customer lifetime value. And to get there, we want to maximize our repurchase rate. And the concern was, if people wait too long on the line, these are people who already have a problem, who are nervous, who are unhappy. If you piss them off even more, it's going to be a net. But if you piss them off even more by making them wait on the line 3, 4, 5 minutes, they are going to be, they may either hang up and just give up on Zalora, or it just becomes very hard to recover this customer. So by taking a step back and really understanding what is the business problem and what are the key drivers to this problem, in this case CLV and repurchase rate, we're able to then craft out a more holistic question of what are really the key drivers to repurchase rate. So we took a deep dive on the NPS data. We found, unsurprisingly, that promoters buy more than detractors. But what we also found is that strong detractors, people who rate 0 to 3, had a surprisingly high repurchase rate. The lowest repurchase rate was actually 4 to 6. The reason why the strong detractors had a high repurchase rate is because every time we send out an NPS survey and you are a detractor, it automatically creates a customer service contact and we proactively follow up with you. So if we follow up with very severe, the hypothesis is if we follow up with a very severe issue, you are likely to be a lot more satisfied and more likely to come back. So the problem really becomes on the weak detractors, people that are having like minor problems, the 4 to 6. And by really then drilling down to the different touch points that we have, which is the bottom right slide, understanding what are the key gaps between someone who's a passive and someone who's a weak detractor, and then coming up with really actionable solutions on how to move these people up. That's one of the ways that we're really trying to understand of how to really increase our repurchase rate by solving the 1 or 2 issues that really move the needle. So next one is about fixing pain points. So now that we know the issues, we know what are the key things that we can solve. If we look again at the customer journey, you think about maybe it's a post office issue. Say, Singapore's not a good example. Say, say Ipoh in Malaysia, 7th largest city in Malaysia. How many post offices do you think there are in that whole city? Anyone take a guess? 20, I wish. 2, a bit more than 2.
3.
It's around there. It's around there. 10 post offices in the 7th largest city in Malaysia. So maybe in this particular area, instead of 95, we have like 80%. Means our experience drops to 50%. 1 in 2 customers are going to have a negative experience. So if we really want to solve this, we need to work across the organization really to find out what is the issue, who can make the change. I like to joke with people, well, I say in a joking manner, but it's really true, that the crux of my job is to get people who have no reporting lines to me, no shared KPIs with me, and very often more senior than me, to do what I want them to do. I think that's going to be a challenge for many people in the room. This issue of silos, this issue about responsibility, and this issue about empowerment. And the one thing that really, really annoys me, there is one statement that triggers an allergic reaction in me. Is the phrase, "But it's not my responsibility." I'm sure you've heard that before, and it's very true in a lot of organizations. The issue of silos, the issue of communication, the issue of bringing everybody uniting them to a single purpose. And Zalora is no different. I hear that statement a lot more often than I like. So 2 of the things that we have done to really tackle this statement of "it's not my responsibility" is 2 things. Number 1 is customer journey mapping and voice of the customer sharing sessions. So on our customer journey mapping exercise, it was 3 main objectives. Number 1 is to really help all of the teams to understand the Zalora experience from the customer perspective. It's not about your open rate. It's not about your app install rate. It's not about your customer acquisition cost. It's not about your on-time delivery. It's not about your productivity. How do each of these touch points make an impact on the customer? Take the step out of your Zalora shoes, view it from a customer perspective. And now, using this single purpose, which everybody can agree on, we try to break down some of these silos, try to unite people towards a single mission of really understanding what drives value to a customer. Everybody in Zalora is a Zalora customer. Every other day, someone comes to me and says, "John, I've got this problem. I've got this problem with my order, this thing is not right." Really stepping out of your Zalora shoes and understanding from the customer perspective on what really drives value. And number 2 is then, because the different teams are working on different parts, especially on the behavioral data and the KPI data, marketing understands something about the customer. My commercial team is understanding something about the customer. The ops team understands when I'm ringing the doorbell how the customer reacts. Bringing all of these insights and sharing them across teams so that everybody understands the customer a bit more. From the commercial team, you start to understand what are some of the styles, the materials, the texture that people are going to be like. Marketing side, we get a lot more understanding of behavior. Ops, we get understanding more about efficiency, what people really need to be able to get it. For example, on the delivery, how important is it to give delivery time slots to say I'm going to deliver between 2 to 4 p.m. versus 2 and 2:30 versus 1 to 3 days? How much do customers really need that level of details? And it's going to differ from country to country and within the country from regions and cities. And then finally, once you understand the customer, and once you understand the customer insights that everybody brings to the table, then can we all sit together and work together to really solve problems or harness opportunities that we have. The other is the voice of the customer sharing. So on a monthly basis, we have catch-ups on what are the what are the key CX metrics. So if someone says, we noticed that the NPS score went up or went down last month, and we also see a correlation between the other teams. So for example, in country X, we see we see NPS going up and correlating with an increase in product quality. And one of the commercial teams said that, and maybe the marketplace team said, last month we did a big cleanup of delisting a lot of poor quality sellers. And this is how the numbers have changed. Understanding this then gives an idea of the rest of the other commercial teams. How can we improve quality within this country, and that we should see a similar increase in product quality scores as well as NPS scores. And this working together then creates the accountability across teams, because we know what people because you are stepping up to answer what's driving the scores. And lastly, it also provides visibility of ongoing initiatives. For example, we're talking about helping customers find the right size. Getting the right size is going to go across teams, because it comes from the commercial teams to understand what data the brands can provide you. It comes from the warehouse because we measure it. Goes to the content teams that write the product description. Goes to the website team that creates the UI and UX, make sure that the information can be found. So within just this one project, there's going to be like 40 different work streams, and everybody is working on a single one. How does it come together? So this is one of two of the key tools that we've been able to use very successfully to solve the "but it's not my responsibility" issue. Next part is then, once you've got the feedback loop, how do you motivate everybody to maintain and sustain this? Goes back to the concepts of rewards. There's the extrinsic motivations and intrinsic motivations. These are going to be very circumstantial based on the types of people, your organization, so these are some guiding principles. On the extrinsic part, you need to be able to set goals that are within someone's control. Some companies have, say, everybody has X% of their bonus packed to, say, NPS. Or what about the teams that don't directly affect NPS? For example, your accounts payable team in your finance department. Number two, it needs to come from meaningful change. I was talking to somebody who bragged that he increased his company's NPS from -10 to 43 in a period of 6 months. After a bit of conversations, I began to understand that this change came from a modification of the methodology. Instead of labeling 0 and 10, like not likely and extremely likely, you start labeling all of the numbers so that you move the customer's mindset of midpoint from 5 to 7.5. You label 7 and 8 as neutral. Absolutely nothing has changed from the customer perspective. The only thing that changed was the person's bonus. And then the last part is about making sure that if you want to do a rewards, it has to be sufficiently motivating. And when we talk about sufficiently motivating, it's not about how big or how small. One of the greatest marks of achievement in Zalora is on your 3rd birthday in the company, they present to you a mug that says Vintage Zalorian. That is the most coveted item in the company. It says you have survived the baptism by fire, you have gone through, look, Zalora is 5 years old, you have been around for more than half the company's age. You are part of the DNA. That's what that mark says. It's not about, oh, your 3-year mark, I'm going to give you $10,000. It's just saying that you have been here, part of the battle, and here's your mark.